I wish I would have known how little time was left.
I should have put more effort into my marriage.
I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
I should have told my son I loved him.
I can't believe I never did anything with my idea.
Why did I always live in fear?
I can't believe I never wrote my
I
book.
really wish I had helped more people in need.
Why did I choose to live so far below my potential?
I wasted so much time worrying about nothing.
Why did I waste so much time?
Why did I live in silly and something so beautiful?
I can't believe I never
At the end of your life, the things you regret most are the things left undone. The biggest obstacle in your life today could be one of the smallest words in our language. So many times we blame everyone and everything else for our situation, when the problem is this little two-letter word. Pound for pound, it's one of the most powerful and limiting words we can say. What is that word? If. I'll really get my life together if, fill in the blank. How often this word stands in the way of us moving forward in life. How often we procrastinate by waiting for the perfect conditions to begin living life to the fullest. Everything you need to fulfill your goals is already inside you. You only need to see your boundless potential and the journey is underway. Today, don't pause your dreams waiting for the right conditions. Success meets you where you step, not where you stand. Take that first step and watch your path illuminate before you. Live your life without the if.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, wherever you are. This is your friend Dr. Faz with a new episode of Live with Dr. Faz. Friends, you know we bring our guests from all over the world. Today, my guest is David Zezza. He's from Pennsylvania, United States of America. He's a father of 3 young boys, 7, 9, and 5. He's a career development professional. He had 12 years experience in that profession. He's an award-winning Toastmasters. He's a great speaker. He's a trainer. He's also a coach for basketball and baseball. And he's planning to start blogging and also helping people to find their career and having their self-growth and personal development. Today, we invited him to discuss importance of public speaking in leadership skills. How important is that? So just get ready, take your pen and paper, take some notes, how we can learn from David Zezza. Please help me welcome my friend, David Zezza. Hello, David. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Dr. Faz, how are you? It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure, David. Thanks for having a little time for us. Let's talk about, I know you've been in Pennsylvania, USA, and you've been doing a lot of other stuff, coaching, speaking, and all that. So, we have a huge audiences and viewers right now in South Asian countries, which they are watching us. They're live too. So they would like to know, who is David Zezza?
Well, thank you for that. Well, I am a very passionate individual that really enjoys studying and learning about leadership and communication. And I guess it all started back in the late 1990s when I attended Boston University. I grew up in a very small town in Pennsylvania, not close to any large cities. So I lived a kind of a sheltered childhood, and I kind of had a desire to see the world. So that all started in Boston when I went to school there. I earned a degree in management. There was a heavy focus throughout that time in leadership and communication as well, which I find to be appropriate for your show. Um, from there, after earning my degree, I went and spent 5 years working for GE, where I had an opportunity to travel the world. Um, I worked in finance, first as a financial analyst and then an internal auditor. I got to live in really interesting places across the globe, in China, Japan, Mexico City. So, I really had the opportunity to see a lot. Um, Before eventually returning home to Pennsylvania, I've been in the Philadelphia area now for the past 13 years or so. And I've been working, kind of transitioned my career from the world of finance to the world of recruiting and career development. And what I've learned is I've about myself is that I've really become passionate about helping other folks navigate their careers and learning how to take the right next step, how to prepare for that next step, and all of the things that kind of go with it. And within that journey, I discovered, as you alluded to, I discovered Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a place where you can, really hone and develop those communication and leadership skills. And with a small gap of a couple of years, I've now spent about 5 years as a Toastmaster and enjoying every minute of it.
Wow. So, like Toastmaster, tell me a little bit about Toastmaster. What is that?
So Toastmasters is an organization. It's a global organization that's divided into clubs of 15 to 50 individuals. It's a place where you meet, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. You get together with a group of folks that you get to know, and it's a safe environment where you can practice your public speaking skills and you can practice your leadership skills. So, for example, you put together prepared speeches that you deliver somewhat on a monthly or maybe a bi-monthly basis. It's really at your own pace. And the other members of the club give you feedback to help you hone and develop those communication skills. And in addition to those prepared speeches, we do what we call table topics, where you're brought up in front of the room and you're asked a question, and you're asked to answer that question in 1 to 3 minutes in almost a mini speech format, which really helps you learn how to listen better and, kind of think through your answer before you deliver it.
So, in Toastmaster, like it's a same format for rest of the world, or every club has their own format?
For the most part, the format is standardized.
Okay.
But every club is going to have their own little nuances, depending on the folks, the officers that run that club.
Oh, okay. All right. And is it an expensive hobby?
No, it is not expensive at all. It's I believe about $50 for a 6-month term.
Uh-huh.
So it's definitely something that when you look at what you get out of it, it far, far exceeds what appears to be a minimal investment, after you start going.
Awesome, awesome. So, do you think this is really important for everyone to be a Toastmaster?
I think that I'm not sure if it's important for everyone to be a Toastmaster, but there's not one person that joins that won't get something out of it, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course it does. No, because everybody, like, regardless wherever you are leading someone. So that's why I was curious if it an important thing. But you answered very well. So let me ask you about leadership. Tell me, what do you mean by leadership? What is your definition of leadership?
So I know, Dr. Foz, that you're involved with the John Maxwell Group.
Hmm.
And as a fellow student of John Maxwell, he states that leadership is influence, nothing less, nothing more.
Hmm.
Those words have kind of been embossed in my brain since I read them,
Hmm.
and I think they're true. So I think leadership is really the act of influencing the folks around you, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. And I
Hmm.
think the goal for all would be to
Hmm.
strive to make sure that that's a positive influence.
Hmm. Yes, I mean leadership. I mean, how important is to have a leader?
It's extremely important. I think whether you're looking at a for-profit organization, a nonprofit organization, a religious organization,
Hmm.
or even down to the level of a family, the ability to demonstrate leadership within that organization
Hmm.
is critical for the success of that organization.
Uh, and as a leader, how important is public speaking for leader?
I think it's critical, to be frank with you, because as a leader, you can have all of the most amazing ideas in the world, and you can have the best vision and the best ideas. But if you're unable to communicate them properly to the folks that you're leading,
Hmm.
or the folks that you're influencing,
Hmm.
then those ideas might, wither up and die.
So, how people can differentiate between a good leader and a bad leader? Is there any sign there to notice, or is there any things which people should focus on?
I think you can see a lot of different signs of whether a person's a good leader or a bad leader. If you want to use the example of an organization, I think that the first question to ask is the organization growing? If the organization itself is growing, then there has to be some sort of strong leadership there. Some other signs are, the mental state of the folks that are involved in that group.
Mm-hmm.
Are they happy? Are they engaged? Are they enjoying what they're doing? I mean, and there's all different types of leadership, but to me, the most effective are when the members of the organization are all moving in the same direction, and they're engaged and passionate about that organization.
Okay. So, because you are also a very experienced recruiter, and you help this in recruiting and career development all the people. So, when people recruit someone, what they consider the most, like leadership skills, public speaking skills, or other skills?
I think when recruiters are first looking for somebody to fill a position, they start with the almost the technical skills. They start by looking at a resume.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you can look at 100 resumes that all show a qualified individual,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really the communication skills and the leadership skills that you get from your interactions with them that
Mm-hmm.
make you get behind a candidate and really want to push them into a potential role. So, for example, if you're talking to a person that's interviewing for, I don't know, let's say a finance manager role,
Mm-hmm.
you might see five people with the pedigree and the good schooling and things like that. But when you talk to that one person that may not have the best, they may not have gone to the best school, or they might not have the most experience, but you could hear in their voice that they're passionate about what they do, and they really want to strive to um, create a positive impact to the
Mm-hmm.
organization. you can feel those strong communication and leadership skills coming through. So I think at the end of the day, you have to have the technical skills, but without the strong communication and leadership skills, it's really going to be difficult for somebody to get behind you.
Yes, that's a very awesome. Because 99% time people get hired due to their skills, and they get fired because of their attitude. And attitude
Right.
comes from your speaking skills, because you cannot communicate right with your colleagues. People don't resign from company; they resign from those people they were dealing with,
Hmm.
because that's the main thing, and that's a lack of, I believe, communication skills among them. And that's why people decide to leave somewhere. They don't leave the company, because if the company was not good enough, they couldn't even join at first time. But now they are leaving because they couldn't cope with the environment and the people they communicate with. So that's another. So let me ask you, when we were talking about recruiting in a moment ago, when people they submit their CVs or resume or whatever we say in different part of the world, they have different names. Like
Yep.
we used to say when we were young was a job application, and now it became resume, and then now it's called CV. But how true they are, most of the time, all the flowery words in every CV and resume. And I think that everyone you ask for an IT job, he knows more than Bill Gates, and he knows more than Steve Jobs. If you read that, so
Right.
how much you guys, when as a recruiter, you consider those things, like more? Do you think you have more consideration for the CVs only, or no?
Um, no.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting fact about the recruiting industry that most candidates don't know.
Hmm.
A recruiter will review a resume for approximately 6 to 8 seconds before
Hmm.
they decide whether or not they're going to call a person.
Hmm.
So, a lot of it is looking at, it's more of a scan of,
Hmm.
okay, where did this person go to school? What jobs have they had? How long have they been in those jobs? What are their job titles? If you get into the individual lines of a resume, chances are those are not read very thoroughly. So to your point, you know, you look at some of these resumes, and folks might look like they know more than Bill Gates. Um,
Hmm.
it doesn't get that far with the recruiter, actually, because I
Hmm.
think we know that it's much more than what's on that paper, and it's
Hmm.
really the person's voice and how they present themselves and their attitude, as you alluded to,
Hmm.
that's going to go a lot further in
Hmm.
kind of moving somebody along in the process. And even once, I'll take it one step further. When a recruiter's talking to a hiring manager,
Hmm.
chances are they're in 75 to 80% of the cases, you'll hear the words, well, before you look at the resume, I want you to know a little bit about this person. And we're trying to get that hiring manager excited about this person's personality, their
Hmm.
attitude, their leadership skills outside of what they're going to read on the resume. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, so if someone who's right now looking to get a job, or someone who's trying to find his real career where he wants to move on, what are the basic and fundamentals you would like to suggest them what they should do first?
By far, the most important aspect of kicking off a job search is networking. Network,
Mm-hmm.
network, network. The more people that you talk to, and I mean talk to, not just sending emails to, the more people you're going to have in your corner, actively helping you pursue that next step in your career.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a great networking resource for meeting
Mm-hmm.
folks that could connect you to a future job opportunity. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also there's tons of different groups that you can find, whether it's through the internet, or even through past colleagues, or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
where you can actually meet folks.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, network. On top
Mm-hmm.
of that, I would also recommend spend time talking to folks that you might know, either at organizations that you are targeting that you'd like to potentially explore, or talk to folks that work in similar jobs to what you're looking to ultimately attain. Those conversations are extremely invaluable. I think it's somewhere, the last I read, I think it's somewhere in the 80 to 85% of all hirings are the result of some sort of referral, whether it's the referral of somebody you know, whether it's the referral of a professional recruiter. You know, most hires do not start with a simple application on a job posting that you find online. So when I start working with a candidate, the first thing I tell them is, whatever that perfect job is, you want to kind of figure out what that ideal next step is. If you see it posted, don't apply for it. That should be almost the last step in the process before there's other avenues that you want to explore before you get to that point of applying for the job. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, but I get a lot of young people, and I go through all that all the time whenever I go in different conferences and conventions and all that, for my keynote speeches and all that. And a lot of young people, I'm talking like students or just getting graduated and all that. They're not very clear that what they want to do in their life because they don't know which career they should go for, and
Right.
they are lost. I mean, they don't know their passion, they don't know their purpose, they don't know their goal, they don't have any dream kind of thing. So, what you are going to suggest them, those young guys, how to choose a career which fits for them? How?
So I think it starts. I try to think of myself back at that time, which is getting further and further away as the years go by.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it starts with doing some research
Mm-hmm.
about the potential careers that they could go into.
Mm-hmm.
So before they even start talking to folks, spend some time
Mm-hmm.
researching the potential careers, what they entail.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a degree, what does their degree align with? What are some different directions that they could go
Mm-hmm.
to use that degree?
Mm-hmm.
And with technology, what it is today, you can find out tons and tons of information on prospective careers. I
Mm-hmm.
think once they kind of narrow it down to a couple, let's say 2 or 3 potential directions that they want to go,
Mm-hmm.
then they should start that networking. I can't tell you how many times folks have reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you spare 15 minutes? I want to talk to you about what it's like to be in the recruiting industry."
Mm-hmm.
And I've never said no. And I think most folks out there that, if you reach out to enough folks, you're going to find at least a few that say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and having those conversations could potentially be a link to finding that first opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that they learn and do the research, the more folks that they talk to in those types of careers, the more that they can get passionate about
Mm-hmm.
wanting to take that step. And I think that's the most important part, because I've hired interns in the past, I've hired recent grads in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and their resumes all look very much the same. So the
Mm-hmm.
thing that really is going to stand out, as we talked about a little earlier, is, are they passionate? Is this something that they truly want to do? Do they have that foundation for strong communication skills? Do they
Mm-hmm.
show that they really want to
Mm-hmm.
dive in and
Mm-hmm.
make a difference? And I think by following those steps, they'll put themselves in a good spot to discover what it is that's going to
Mm-hmm.
make them happy.
Yeah, but what do you think the future? Because after this COVID-19, the norms are totally changed. Now,
Right.
80% people are working from home virtually, and I believe it's going to go for a little while because we don't know when the vaccine will be out and all that. So, in terms of new career seekers or job seekers, what they should consider now, because working virtually is a lot different than usually working in person there. What do you
So
suggest?
I see that as a huge opportunity for folks, especially folks that may not be mobile right off the bat. Um, so I think in emphasizing that research and that networking,
Hmm.
um, don't I would say don't limit yourself to a specific geographic area. There are so many companies that, as a result of having to allow for folks to work remotely, they're kind of moving to a model that will allow more remote work even after all of this is has calmed down, if you will. So what I would say is look at it as a huge opportunity to really find that role that makes you happiest, because it doesn't have to be a role that's within 50 miles or 50 kilometers of where you live. It could be a role that's halfway across the world if it's something that you're really passionate about. And then it comes back to what we were talking about, and showing that passion and showing that drive and desire for that type of role.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an edge for all these, especially new job seekers and career finders, that you don't have to limit yourself in a certain area. That's an awesome opportunity for a lot of people. And plus, you can also avoid all those initial hassles which people, especially young people, sometimes because they don't have a ride, they don't have an like a dependable car or something, because they just are getting started. They don't have enough money to buy all these. So now they can sit at home and still working in the same way and still getting paid in a right. Yeah. No, that's definitely an opportunity, and every adversity has an opportunity, folks. Whenever, so we have to look optimistic rather than pessimistic in all these situations. And this is a very good analogy which David gave us. So, David, tell me a little bit about human resources department. I mean, it used to be the backbone of any corporation, but now it's getting a little like a different. Human resources is more like what's called uh, just arranging parties and all those kind of stuff, more than like focusing on a real positive stuff. I go in a lot of corporation as a consultant, and I see the HR director, they are just trying to do retreats and that kind of stuff, but I don't see any focus in the growth and development of their workers and their trainings and those. And according to them, the trainings are freely available on YouTube. Do you believe in that, or they should still need training?
I think the strongest organizations, from the folks that I've spoken to, still value that investment in their employees,
Mhm,
specifically from a development perspective.
mhm,
Um, I think it's still crucial, and as a person that's over the last 12 years pulled a lot of folks out of organizations. One of the biggest reasons that people leave an organization, and you talked about this earlier, being the people,
mhm,
is that they feel that they don't have any more growth available to
mhm,
them.
mhm,
So a lot of that comes from, hey, are there leadership development programs within an organization? Are
mhm,
there abilities to go back to school to get a higher education degree?
mhm,
Um, are there continuous training programs that allow folks,
mhm,
even folks that are in more technical roles, do they
mhm,
have the ability to become even stronger at their jobs,
mhm,
and eventually transition into
mhm,
a leadership role? So while I agree with you, I've definitely seen a trend where
mhm,
you don't hear about it as much. I
mhm,
think the organizations that separate themselves from their
mhm,
competitors you're going to see strong human resources departments. You're going to see strong
mhm,
leadership development departments.
mhm,
You're going to see folks that are continually learning, growing, and developing,
mhm,
and not reaching a ceiling at any point, because that's when
mhm,
honestly, that's when you start to lose folks.
mhm. Well, I mean, I was just talking to it's a major corporation, and I was talking to an HR director there. So I just asked a funny question. Maybe you can answer me. So I said, she was asking me that, Dr. Faz, can you come and just talk about business ethics? So I said, I don't believe in business ethics. And she was a little bit shocked. I said, what do you mean? I said, I don't believe in business ethics. Do you, David?
Well, I think I know where you're going with this, and I just believe that you either have ethics or you don't have ethics.
That's it. So what
And
is the, yeah, this is HR thing. They have a business ethics. I don't understand yet. If you are not a liar, you're not a liar, period.
right. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I know because this is another new, I mean, dilemma there. Like, oh, we have a business ethics. I said, what do you mean by business ethics? And what should I talk about business ethics? That you have to lie at your home with your wife, but you can't lie with your boss? That's the business ethic? What do you mean? Yeah,
Maybe there's an ethical way of not telling the truth if you're only doing it in business. I don't know.
yeah, but that's why I was a little bit curious. Maybe I said, maybe you think differently. So these are certain things which are really different than it used to be. So tell me, if somebody would like to be a public speaker, what should he do first? Number one, what first step?
That's a great question because I found myself realizing that that was something I wanted to do a while back, and I did a lot of research, and it's going to come back to what we talked about earlier. Find a Toastmasters club.
Okay, okay.
Um, I think number one, public speaking and being good at it um, is really difficult to learn unless you do it.
Hmm.
And the only way you're going to get good at it is with practice. And the best way to practice is in a safe environment, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So I think by finding a Toastmasters group and number one, finding out, okay, what am I good at? Are there areas where I need to develop? Are there areas where I'm already very, very strong? Um, to me, that's invaluable. So if someone does want to speak, being able to find a place where they can practice those skills,
Hmm.
um, you know, that's invaluable. And I think about it like this: if your goal is to be a paid speaker
Hmm.
and you don't practice and you don't go down that road, number one, it's going to be very difficult to get booked. But
Hmm.
if you do get booked and you bomb,
Hmm.
that first impression is going to go a long way.
Yes.
So, you're every opportunity to speak is going to create either a positive or negative reference about you.
Hmm.
And I think you want those references to be positive, and the best way to do that is to practice and find out what you're good at and what you're not good at. And I think there's no better place than Toastmasters to be able to do that.
Yeah, Toastmasters is a great place to rehearse yourself and practice yourself and get a feedback from in a safer environment from a friendly attitude, and nobody is trying to put you down and all that. But at the same time, do you think Toastmasters 7 minute speeches, because usually their speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. So, but as a professional speaker or a professional public speaker, you need a lot more content
Mm-hmm.
to speak about. So, what about contents? Do you think it's important to find your niche first, what you're going to speak about?
So I think if you were to ask me what's the second thing someone should do if they want
Hmm.
to be a public speaker, it's figure out what they want to speak about.
Yes.
What can they talk about for 20, 30, 90 minutes for
Mhm.
and still be passionate about it, still deliver quality content. Um, someone a great mentor said to me the other day, Toastmasters teaches you how to say something, and there's other places where you can learn what to say. So, I think once you get into that environment, you may get in front of the room and find out that, what, this is just not for me.
Mhm.
Some folks have a fear of speaking, and that's why they go to Toastmasters to get over that fear.
Mhm.
But I think once you kind of figure out yes, this is something I am passionate about. I want to continue to do it. Then it's a matter of finding, what is the content that I want to develop, or either an organization that I want to work for, to share their content. I met someone recently that speaks to folks that are experiencing the horrible affliction of depression, and his organization provides him with a lot of really positive, strong information that communicating to those folks will allow them to kind of break through and get the help that they need, or find the right treatments for them. And he does a lot of good for folks that feel like they have nowhere to turn to. So there's all different directions that you can go, but it's a matter of, like you just alluded to, finding out what's the content that I'm passionate about, what's something that I want to talk about for 45, 60, 90 minutes at a time.
And how do you divide your speaking engagement? Like if you got a speaking engagement, so or like every speech has a few components in that, like opening and closing and all that stuff. So how do you dissect a good speech, if I will ask you?
So my personal preferences combines two things. Number one, the rule of three, and number two, the personal story. So when I sit down to write a speech, whatever it's about, I try to limit it to, but also include up three major points that support a main idea. I think our brains are somehow wired in threes, and it's easiest to communicate what you're trying to communicate in threes. So I always kind of want to build a framework of a speech around a main point with three pieces of supporting documentation or information or whatever it may be, and I want to tie all that together with a personal story. When we tell personal stories, it creates a connection to the audience that's different than just spewing out facts and figures and things like that. So when I'm watching speakers, or whether I'm watching a speaker or whether I'm writing a speech, I kind of look for those components. Is somebody telling me a story that's personal to them, and are they supporting their point with a couple of really key pieces of information?
So when you say story, tell me a little bit about storytelling, like how you have to do a story in just 90 seconds or 2 minutes, because you don't have too much time to tell the whole story. So how you summarize that story and make your point?
That's a good question. I think what you want to do is figure out the point, the part of the story that most relates to what you're trying to communicate. And I think you want to kind of frame the story around that. And depending on the time requirements, for example, I competed in the table topics competition, and you have a few moments in the beginning to gather your thoughts, and then you have 1 to 3 minutes to answer a question. And the question that was asked to me was, why not? Now, you could go in a lot of different directions with that. And what I did at that point was I kind of focused on the why, and I kind of framed it around why I should win that competition without saying those words. But to your point, you only have a few seconds, and I kind of told a story about my journey in Toastmasters in 15 seconds. So being able to do that it's a little bit of an art, it's a little bit of a science, but I think it's a key component to being a good speaker.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and definitely you have to split out story and your point. So if you have like because our viewers, I see a lot of viewers they're sending me comments, and they are mostly interested in to become a public speaker. So
Right.
that's why I'm focusing on those guys who are watching us. And so like a lot of time people ask me this question, and still they're asking uh, how to become a great any public speaker. Obviously, everybody wants to be a great public speaker, not a public speaker. So
Mhm.
that's always the people want to do. So, do you think how much important is to study before?
So study, I think it's critical. You know, if if you're going to, I look at it from the audience perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I wrote an article recently on LinkedIn. It was called "It's All About the Audience, Stupid,"
Mhm.
and um, when you're whenever you're going to be speaking, whenever you're going to be writing, you really need to think about it from the audience's perspective. So if
Mhm.
I'm going to spend money to go see someone speak,
Mhm.
I want to know that they know more about that topic than I do.
Mhm.
Um, so, if you're an aspiring speaker, I think it's critical to know your material from top to bottom, left to right, frontwards, backwards,
Mhm.
however you want to say it, so that when you stand up in front of that audience, no
Mhm.
matter how small or big it is,
Mhm.
you want to exude confidence, and you want every single person in that audience to know that you know what you're talking about, that you
Mhm.
know more than they do about what you're talking about. And even if you don't, you need to be able to demonstrate that confidence as if you do.
Mhm. So it means you have to know the subject definitely if you want to be a professional public speaker, of course. And how important is your tone of voice and body language?
I think they're just as important as the words that you say. I actually there's a study often referred to. I think it was from Carnegie Mellon University, if I'm not correct, but don't quote me on that. Where they did a study and they said that really showed that how you say the words account for more for something like 93% of um, how
Mhm.
well the audience receives that
Mhm.
information,
Mhm.
and only 7% is attributed to the actual words that you use.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, so I think it's really critical, and that's where a group like Toastmasters comes in handy. You get feedback on your tone, your body language,
Mhm.
your nonverbal communication.
Mhm.
All of that really needs to be honed in just as much as the words that you put into your speech.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're not going to effectively communicate your message and get that message across, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right, because 7% is the only value for the words which you say, but 38% is tonality, how you say that, and
That's right.
55% is your body language, because people are more visual than auditory, and they don't care about words as long as you are conveying the message through your body language and through your tone. So, yeah, 93%. Yeah, and this is done by actually UCLA, University of
Oh,
California.
UCLA.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And the name I remember, the professor was Meredith something. I'm just missing the name of that professor who ran it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's 93%. So, uh, so if somebody would like to start today to become a public speaker, do you think how much time they need to become a good speaker? Not the
Hmm.
best, but good speaker. Just this is a question just came to me.
So everyone's going to develop differently, and everyone's going to possess a skill set um, different than the next person. So that's kind of the disclaimer. Um, but I really think that if somebody works hard in terms of practicing and developing and figuring out how to get over that fear, I still get butterflies when I stand up in front of folks, and I've been doing Toastmasters for 5 years. But figuring out how you get to the point where that's comfortable and you can easily communicate that information.
Mhm.
I think some folks can do it in 6 months. Some folks, can expect to spend 2 to 3 years before they really get to that point of comfort.
Mhm.
I think if you're serious about devoting a career towards it, you
Mhm.
probably want to look at spending a solid, 1 to 2 years of practice time before you get to the point of really um,
Mhm.
going professional, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get this question all the time, say how you are so comfortable when you stand up in front of those hundreds of people and we don't see that nervousness and all that. And I usually laugh and I said, how do you know that I was not nervous? There
Right.
is no such a speaker who doesn't get nervous when he gets started. Even he is a very highly recognized professional speaker, but once he gets on stage, the first 10 to 30 seconds depends on the seniority of that guy. Still, he gets nervous. The only difference between him and others is he learned how to overcome within short period of time. Within 10 seconds, he overcomes on that fear. But
Right.
everybody gets a little dry throat when he walks to the stage. So forget it that you're not going to be nervous, you're not going to be confused. So, just you have to speak. You
Yep.
have to, you can never lose an opportunity to speak. If you want to
Right.
be a speaker, stage time, stage time, stage time. Like Darren LaCroix, who's the world champion of public speaking, he always says that. So you have to just keep speaking. Number one. So that's an awesome. We are just getting to the time. We got only. So, would you like to give any message to the new career finder leadership that they want to become a leader or they want to become a public speaker? Any advice for them or any message for them?
Sure. I think there's one common thread, across a few of the topics that we touched on today, whether it's career development, whether it's leadership, whether it's communication, and that common thread is really network. The more people that you can meet and talk to and create a positive impression on, the more people that you will have in your corner when you are looking to make a move, whether it's to make a
Mhm.
move into your next role, whether it's finding that first speaking engagement, whether it's finding someone to mentor you to help you develop a specific skill.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to succeed in any of those areas unless you build a strong network. And then once you have that network,
Mhm.
stay in touch with those folks and be available to them. Be a mentor yourself. The things that you get good at,
Mhm.
share that with other folks because it's only good. Good karma comes back around, in my opinion. And that finally, practice. Whatever it is that you want to do, keep doing it. If you're looking for a new job and you're having trouble interviewing, do some mock interviews, research interview questions,
Mhm.
practice. If you want to speak, practice speaking and join Toastmasters. So network and practice. And to me, those are the two keys to succeeding in really any arena.
Mhm. Oh, thank you, David. And yeah, folks, repetition is key to success. So you have to rehearse it, you have to repeat it, you have to keep doing it. You cannot be the best in a very first attempt. But you don't need to be perfect to get started. You have to start to get perfect. So you have to get started first. Thank you
The
very much.
coach,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
real quick quote. Coach John Wooden said, "Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect."
Yes, exactly. Yeah, uh, if you are going to rehearse making mistakes, you will be perfect in making mistakes. So don't make sure you have to do perfect practice.
Exactly.
I agree with you. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate your time, and it was an awesome time with you. And I believe our viewers they learned a lot. And hopefully, we are going to get together again, and we are going to do another show for people, so we can talk to other topics. So I truly appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And please come back to our show so we can talk on other topics. We have a lot of things to talk about.